Welcome to From Click to Client, where we transform a confusing message into a clear, compelling story that sells. I'm your host, Kris Jones, StoryBrand marketing expert. I'm here to help you attract more dream clients with the power of story. Today, we're going to talk about how to turn your website into a client-generating machine using StoryBrand. Your website should act as your top sales employee, and if it is not doing its job, I'm going to break down the exact structure that I use to fix that for good. I'm going to be answering today some of the most common questions that I get, so let's dive in. In the last episode, we talked about the importance of a 3-step plan. And at this point, I've walked you through how to communicate the problem that you solve and really let them be clear on what you're going to provide for them. What is the bright future that is in store for them if they work with you? So you've worked through your 3-step plan, and I don't want you to skip that part. So if you haven't listened to that, go back to the last episode and check that out. Once your plan is in place on your website, it's just 3 simple steps. It begins with the main call to action. And then step 2 is always engaging in work with you. And then step 3 is all about that happy end result that they're going to get. So what is the carrot at the end of this? And you need to remind their brain that that isn't so far off. It's not going to be as hard or as complicated as they might think it will be. The reason the plan is so important is that it cues up you calling them to action. So when they read the plan, you essentially are calling them to action at that point. So that means they're going to click on that button. That is the next step to engaging with you. For most coaches and consultants, that would be booking a call with them. It might also mean buying your course, joining your program. But these days, people are really hesitant to just hand over their money, and they typically need a call with you, even a short one, before they're going to decide to move forward. So the next step for you on your website is to get really clear on your call to action. The mistake that I see a lot is that you have multiple calls to actions. And it might be learn more, check it out, let's connect. And what you're really doing is putting the burden on the visitor to figure out what they need to do next. And if you're going to step into this story as a strong guide, you don't want it to be a choose your own adventure experience for them. You want to very clearly, with the call to action button, tell them what the next step they need to do. And I want you to once you get clear on this button, I want you to repeat this through the page. Pretty much in every section of the page needs to end with the call to action, but especially the end of the plan needs to end with that call to action. So a good call to action is always showing them that if they click on that call to action, they're going to get a benefit from it. So for example, the call to action on my website is book a money-making and messaging call. Prior to that, I had my main call to action, which was book a clarity call. And while that does infuse a little bit of a benefit to it, I will tell you, the minute I changed my call to action to book a money-making messaging call, my calendar started to get booked out. So that's really a tangible change when you implement this approach. So for example, I'm working with a leadership consultant right now, and his main call to action is book your leadership strategy session. When you use words like strategy in your call to action, that really shows value. It shows that they're going to walk away from this call with something tangible, something of value. They're going to have insight around a strategy. And so they're much more likely to click on the call to action if you do infuse a benefit into it in that way. And this does not mean that you have to give away free coaching calls. It really is an opportunity for you to get on a call with them, for you to listen to what they're struggling with, and also for you to walk them through your process. Just them understanding what your process is a huge benefit to them, to have them understand how it's going to work, what working with you is going to look like. That is a huge benefit. That is them beginning to understand the strategy that they're going to be able to implement. So again, a great example of that is book your leadership strategy session, or book your time management breakthrough call. Something along those lines is going to be way more effective for you than learn more or let's connect or contact me. You can really, I think it's really clear the difference between those two things. So we want to repeat that call to action throughout the page because we never know at what point in the page they're going to be ready to take action. So don't feel like you have to use your call to action sparingly. Be abundant with it. Put it in every section on your page. So part of the plan allows them to really understand what's going to happen after they click on that call to action. So they know, okay, first I'm going to have this strategy call with you, and then the plan shows them what it's going to be like to engage with you. And then they understand by step 3, they're going to get to experience that happy end result. And engaging with you, of course, is going to be more complex. Like that, the details of step 2 don't need to be, you don't need to be too detailed in this section. You just need to show them that work with me one-on-one to get the support that you need. We'll work through the things that are keeping you stuck, and we're going to move forward and get you to a better place. So that is the key behind your call to action. The other thing to keep in mind for the call to action is to make it the brightest color in your palette. If you have a neutral palette of beiges and grays and blacks and whites, there's no problem with having that as your palette, but I would really encourage you to pick a bright color so that button pops off the page. The call to action is the whole point. Everything we do in telling your story is in service of them clicking on the call to action. So we want that to be a nice bright color that their eye naturally gravitates toward. So if they have read the plan and they have not clicked on the call to action yet, I like to follow this section with testimonials. And testimonials, that's an overused word, but really testimonials are proof that you know what you're doing. They're proof that you have solved this problem for other clients. And somebody who's visiting your page, it's very natural for them to hesitate before they click on the call to action because they're moving into new territory. And so we really want to reassure them that this is going to be worth their while. Number one, they're going to get a benefit from talking with you regardless of if they work with you or not. And number two, they're reassured when you follow that call to action with 3 very short, brief testimonials proving that you have solved this problem for other people that are in their position. So you really want to follow it up with building trust. Another thing that you can follow up the plan with is really an infographic showing your unique way of doing this. This is like, I believe in the power of an infographic that shows your signature approach or your unique way of doing things. This is a way for you to stand out from all your competitors. And if you don't feel like you have your own unique way of doing things, trust me, you do. You just haven't identified it yet. Most of my clients come to me and they say, I don't really have my own unique way of doing things. I think I just do things like everybody else. And I say, no, you don't. We work through the mining for gold process, which is me really digging into their business, digging into them as a coach or consultant, digging into their clientele and really uncovering what is their unique way of doing things. And if you don't feel like you have a unique process, one way to uncover it would be, what are the 3 things that you combine or that you bring to the table? What are the 3 ingredients that come together that allow you to get the results that you get? After that section, we want to have a section that talks about what's at stake if they do nothing. If at this point on the page they have not taken action yet, this is a point where you gently put your hand on their back as a coach, as a consultant, and you just share with them, if you don't take any action, nothing's going to change and things are going to pretty much stay the way they are. If your clients are on the verge of burnout, or if your clients are struggling with their weight, or if your clients are difficulty professionally getting their team to rally around their vision, if they don't do anything, if they don't get help, if they don't get guidance, or if they don't get your support, a year is going to go by and they're going to be exactly where they are now. So a great example of this is a recent project that I've been working on with a really incredible coach and consultant named Mel. And our What's at Stake section reads like this: don't risk being comfortably miserable a year from now. His clients are miserable, but they've gotten comfortable with the misery. It's kind of like that frog in boiling water. And this happens kind of in every area of life where our clients or our heroes have been struggling with the thing that they're struggling with for so long that they've gotten used to it and they've gotten kind of comfortable with the misery of it. So we want to gently put our hand on their back and say something like, don't risk being exactly where you are a year from now. So for Mel, it was don't risk being comfortably miserable a year from now. And then we always follow that up with together we'll overcome this challenge and get you to a point of success. So for Mel, we've got together we'll remove the obstacles holding your organization back and replace them with proven best practices so you can lead with confidence and deliver results. What his clients want more than anything is to lead with confidence and deliver results. So we infuse those benefits throughout the page so their brains constantly know exactly what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in it for me. Our brains are asking that question all the time. And it's not because we're selfish or narcissistic. It's just because that's how our brains are wired. We're wired to want to survive and thrive. And when your messaging is constantly telling them, this is how I'm going to help you survive and thrive, your page is going to become, and your website as a whole is going to become much more effective at getting people to click on the call to action. So for the What's at Stake section, I want you to answer the question, what really happens if your potential client does nothing? What's their life going to look like? And we don't need to be pushy in this section. We don't need to be overly doomsday, but we want to be gently honest with them. Again, imagine putting your hand gently on their back and just reminding them of what is true and what's going to happen if they don't take any action. When you go to a movie, for example, every movie has stakes. And usually always at the beginning of a movie, a hero is introduced. A hero has a problem they don't know how to solve. And then they meet a guide who can help bring them to success. And we follow in StoryBrand, we follow that same flow. If there is nothing at stake, then there is no story. If this were not part of every movie, you would get up after 5 minutes of watching the movie and leave. You would leave the theater, you would turn the TV off. Stakes are the thing that keep our brains engaged in the story. And when it comes to your website, stakes are the thing that are going to really keep them on the page, keep them engaged in your story. And that's really what we want to do. So typically after the stakes section, the natural question that they're going to have is, okay, I'm ready to take action. I'm in. How do I work with you? And that's when we want to move into your suite of offerings. And every coach, every consultant needs a suite of offerings. And typically they begin with a very lower budget, low stakes engagement of like a 90-minute intensive or a 1-month engagement. It doesn't cost too much money. It's great for people who are on a budget or people who are really cautious. They're really unsure and maybe not ready to fully dive into a bigger engagement with you. So we want to make the tier 1 of your suite of offerings very easy to engage with. So for my client Mel, we have his lower ticket is a strategic leadership intensive. And this is done via Zoom. It's done in a day. It's a deep engagement with him, and it allows him to get to know the client and for him to really move the needle for them in a bite-sized chunk. And so lots of people are going to engage with him in that way. Tier 2 is a little bit of a deeper engagement. For a lot of coaches, the tier 2 of your suite of offerings is going to be a group program. It might be a longer engagement. It might be a 3, 4, or 5 month engagement with a group, a cohort of people who are navigating this same challenge. And then tier 3 of your suite of offerings is going to be a higher ticket. And this is typically, again, everyone's business is different, so yours might be different from this, but this is kind of what happens for most coaches is that their tier 3 offering is one-on-one. It's a longer engagement. So it might be a 6-month engagement. It might be one-on-one work together. It doesn't necessarily have to be every week. You can choose the pace at which you want to work with your clients. So a nice range of prices, and usually that middle tier is the one that people gravitate to. So your tier 1 might be more of a $2,500 engagement. Tier 2 might be more of a $5,000 engagement, and tier 3 might be a $10,000 engagement. So that's kind of how those all flow together. What I want to walk you through next is really, how does this all work together? So over the course of a few episodes, I have walked you through all the components that you need on a StoryBrand website. We start with that header section that communicates what you do, how it's going to make my life better, and what you want me to do next with that really clear, bright colored call to action. Then we move into the problem section, really articulating their problems. So really they can feel seen and heard and not alone in their struggle. Most importantly, when we can articulate their struggle well, they automatically think that we are the best ones to solve it. And so when they have that feeling, they get very engaged in this story. And then we immediately want to follow that up with, what does their life look like after they've worked with you, after they've engaged with you? What is their life going to look like? So we want to paint a picture of a brighter future. So I'm kind of walking you through the order of the homepage from top to bottom. I'm a big believer in a one-page website. And when I say that, it doesn't mean you only have to have one page on your website. What it means is that on one page, a visitor can gather all the information that they need to confidently take that next step to work with you. So often, our upper navigation just abundant with lots of different pages. And what we end up doing is sending people on a scavenger hunt to go gather the information they need in order to understand what it is that you do and how you work with your clients. So I'm a big believer in having your homepage do all that heavy lifting for you. So ultimately, all they have to do is scroll down the page. When someone's on your page and they're on their phone, looking at it via mobile, moving from page to page to page is very, very clunky. The scrolling action as they move down the page is very comfortable and very easy for them to do. So they're going to be scrolling down the page, and the story is going to unfold for them little by little as they scroll. Back in the day, the websites were just done differently. The more pages that you had, the more credibility you had, the more you were a real business if you had more pages. And that has completely shifted. So what I do with my homepages now is, instead of having your testimonials be on a completely different page and siloed away on a page that they might not ever go to or get to, I integrate the testimonials on the homepage. Instead of your about page being on a separate page, I integrate that into the homepage. So all of it is there. Instead of your services being on a completely different page, we're going to integrate that on to your homepage. So from top to bottom, I'm going to walk you through each section of what needs to be on your page. Each of these are the components of story. Every component of story is like an ingredient in a big pot of chili. You can't pour chicken stock into a pot and heat it up and say, hey, everybody, come to dinner. It's time to eat chili, but it's really chicken stock. You have to have all the ingredients of chili in the pot that are cooked together to make the pot of chili. And the same goes with your story. You have to have every component of story on your page in order to tell a very clear and compelling story. And if you're not familiar with StoryBrand, I'm just going to walk you through what those components are. So it's going to begin with the hero. We're going to identify who the hero is. We're going to identify the problem that they have. We're going to introduce you as the guide. As the guide, you're going to give them a plan. The plan's going to call them to action. And then when they click on that call to action, they're going to be brought to success. And also, you're going to help them avoid failure. So all of those are kind of individual ingredients that need to be on your page. So for example, from top to bottom, I'm going to walk you through Mel's website. The very beginning, that header section, We've got, I help leaders build winning teams, strengthen culture, and drive tangible results. Clear the roadblocks and implement proven strategies that help your organization thrive. So that's the header. We've just communicated in 5 seconds. What does he do? How is it going to make my life better? And what do you want me to do next? That clear call to action is there at that first section. Book your leadership strategy session, or whatever your call to action is in that bright color. So that is the first section on your page. Then we move into the hero's problem. For Mel, we talk about the overarching problem, which is many leaders invest in books, programs, and methodologies that aren't solving the real problems. So, and then we move into some deeper nuances about what they're struggling with. I'll give you a few, for example. Are you struggling with watching team conflicts destroy productivity and morale? Are you struggling with feeling frustrated that applied advice isn't delivering actual results? Are you struggling with an unhealthy culture that's draining your energy? Are you seeing problems constantly rise to your level instead of being solved below? And then we move into the success section. So reassuring their brain, what's in it for them? What's in it for them? What's in it for them? We don't want to hide this information. No one's going to engage with your page if you don't make it blatantly obvious what's in it for them. So I like to move into this section with a philosophical statement that gets people really rallied around your greater vision. For Mel, we've got, you deserve a simple path to reaching your full potential as a leader while unlocking greatness in others. This is a philosophical statement. Philosophical statements are really a great way to move into your success section. It's a great way to put the stake in the ground around what you believe they deserve. And so we want to have that right up top. Then we move into introducing Mel as the guide. And we do this with a video. Having a video of you on your page is absolutely essential, and it's such a great way to stand out from all your competitors. Most people don't have a video because it's hard. Recording a video of yourself is hard and uncomfortable for most coaches and consultants, and often we don't know what to say. And so what I do for my clients is I actually write that script for them. It doesn't have to be long. It's just about a minute and a half long script, but so much comes through in video that just doesn't come through in still photography. In a short video, they can get a sense of your confidence, your warmth, your empathy, most importantly, and all of that can come through on a very short video. I have found when my clients integrate this video on their page, conversions double, if not more. So that is an absolute non-negotiable. You've got to have a video on your page. I always follow this section with a written few paragraphs that, again, talk about you as the guide. Who are you? Why are you qualified? How much empathy do you have for your client? The best way to step into the story as the guide is to really lead with empathy. Really confident guides don't need to brag or boast. They have such compassion and such empathy for their hero that they lead with that. And within that, your confidence really shines. So following the video, we have a written version of you leading with empathy. For Mel, it was, I get it. Spinning your wheels with strategies that don't end up working in the real world is frustrating. And then we talk about him, his understanding of the problem, why it shouldn't be this way, and the experience that he has. The other thing people really want to know is what makes your approach unique? What are 3 things that make your approach different from everybody else? So that is all part of the guide section. And then we kind of end that section with more authority. How many years have you been doing this work? What kind of credentials do you have? How many clients have you served? We don't need to go heavy-handed on this one. We just want them to check that box in their brain that you know what you're doing. Following the guide section is the plan. Now that you've entered into the story as the guide, your job is to call them to action. And the best way to call them to action or inspire them to take action on the page is to give them a very clear and simple plan. This is where that 3-step plan comes in. For Mel, it is step 1, book your leadership strategy session. And we have a description underneath that. Step 2, get one-on-one consulting And then we follow that with a 1-sentence description. And then step 3, experience real results. So they know that there's a carrot at the end of this and that the finish line is in sight. And they're very, very likely at this point to click on that call to action. So we want to follow that plan with a bright button. Then we follow that section with testimonials that build trust and show proof that you have solved this problem for many other clients. You don't need a ton of testimonials. You just need about 3 to really instill trust and confidence in the potential client's mind. Then I like to follow this with a beautiful infographic, a visual that shows your unique approach. What are the 3 things that come together to make you unique to get your clients results? So for Mel, we have the effective leader framework, an uncommon sense approach to breakthrough results. And we've got a Venn diagram here. So we've got clarity, which is diagnose the problem quickly. We've got culture, build unity and high performing teams. And then we have courage, make the hard calls with confidence. So the 3 kind of magic ingredients that he uses are clarity, culture, and courage. And they work beautifully in an infographic. And then we follow this section with what's at stake if they do nothing. For him, we've got don't risk being comfortably miserable a year from now. How powerful is that, right? That is, if they haven't clicked on the call to action yet, they're very likely to do it at this stage where we introduce the stakes. And then I followed this with your suite of services. For him, he's got his low ticket, which is the 1-day intensive. Then we have the corporate fixer intensive, which is an on-site engagement. And then for him, the 3rd tier is actually, because he works one-on-one with all of his clients. So the 3rd tier for him, the 3rd tier for him is a leadership keynote speaking. And that starts at $15,000 for him. Mel has a book, so we feature the book on this page, and that helps build authority and also gets people to buy his book. And then we have his freebie or his lead magnet. So some people are really going to resonate with what you have to say, want to be in your world. They might not be ready to take action. If they're not, then we want to offer them up a freebie or really a short training, a 5-minute training of a micro problem that you can solve for them. So for Mel, we've got 5 culture killers every leader must avoid in 5 minutes. So this is going to be a 5-minute training that's going to help the viewer spot subtle mistakes that weaken teams and learn how to prevent them. So that's where we end the page. Also, the freebie is great as a pop-up. So I like to have it on the page. I also like to have it as a pop-up. Pop-ups are kind of annoying, honestly. I know you know that, but they work. And they really help people who aren't quite ready to book a call with us get to know us better, especially when we deliver the freebie via video. So it doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be overly detailed, just as long as they can walk away from watching the video with one aha or a few tangible things that are going to help them solve a micro problem. They're going to have the experience of you solving a micro problem for them, which is going to build a lot of confidence that you can solve much larger problems for them. So that is step by step, section by section, what you need on your homepage to get it working for you, to start booking your calendar out with calls with potential clients. And them booking a call with you is going to be the fastest path to profits. People are holding onto their money a little bit more than they ever have. Almost every client I talk to has been burned before, and people are done with that. They don't want to be burned, and they need to build trust. So everything we do throughout the page is about building resonance, building trust, really cultivating connection. And then they do need to get on a call with you. Most often, they need to get on a call with you if they're going to agree to work with you. So I hope that has been helpful. This has been so much fun for me to walk you through like all the things that you need on your page to really turn your website into a top sales employee. It should be your most powerful marketing tool. And remember, think of your marketing as a universe. The sun is at the center of the universe, and all the planets kind of circle around the universe. So your website is the center of your marketing universe, and everything you do needs to point back to your website. But what's the point in sending people to your website if it is not set up to sell for you? So the planets around the sun could be any kind of marketing activity that you find to be fun. It could be being on a podcast or having your own podcast. It could be posting on LinkedIn. It could be in-person networking events. It could be posting videos on YouTube. It could be blogging. It could be email marketing. Most of the people I talk to feel like they need to be on all the planets, but they don't. You need to pick two planets that you really enjoy doing, that don't feel like homework, that actually feel life-giving and fun to you. For example, my planets that I really lean into as far as how to drive traffic to my website are podcasting. Obviously, I have my own podcast, but I love to be a guest on podcasts because it allows me access to a completely different audience, and I get to borrow trust from the podcast host. They've spent the time building their audience, and then I come on and I get to talk about the things that I love to talk about, which is story and how to tell a really powerful, compelling story in your business. And then all those people listening, not all of them, but many of them end up booking calls with me. So one of my planets is all about podcasting, and another planet is email marketing. And this is just me growing my list actively and staying in touch with everybody on my list regularly. Those are my two planets. I find them to be very fun, pretty easy. But that being said, you can pick your own planets. The key with picking your planet is just make sure you're constantly pointing people back to your website. Once you get it tuned up with a powerful story, you're going to feel much more confident sending people there. So, all right, I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for being here.
Is your website turning away potential clients? I can help you turn that around. Book a money-making messaging call with me today, and we'll transform your story into your most powerful sales tool. That's all for this episode of From Click to Client. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I'm Kris Jones, and I'll see you next time.